Charles McGonigal, top senior ex-FBI agent, arrested for colluding with the Russians. We've got two indictments to take a look at. One from the D.C. Circuit out of Washington, D.C., the other out of the Southern District of New York. We've got fraudulent schemes. We've got sanctions. We've got money laundering, all of this involving the Russians. Very interesting. Now, Charles McGonigal is a very senior ex-FBI agent, somebody who is at the very top. We're going to learn about it. But before we dive into the indictments and hear about what the Justice Department says this guy did, let's make sure we have some background under our belt from our friends over at Newsmax. They posted this on January 24th. They tell us about McGonigal's role in the Trump-Russia investigation, right? This is not just some rando ex-FBI agent who just got indicted twice for colluding with the Russians. This was a Trump-Russia investigator who got indicted for colluding with the Russians. All right, let's dig into this. Former FBI official with ties to Trump's 2016 Russia investigation has been charged with providing services to the Russians. He used to lead the counterintelligence for FBI New York, okay? The head of counterintelligence for FBI New York. He's been accused of secretly working with Russian billionaire Oleg Deripaska. McGonigal, along with somebody else named Sergey, is a Russian translator. They've been charged with multiple crimes. McGonigal was one of the key figures who helped trigger special counsel Robert Mueller's investigation into the allegations into Trump's campaign, saying that Trump colluded with Russia to help the former president win in 2016. Okay, this guy was one of the key figures. McGonigal, while serving as the chief of cybercrime section at FBI headquarters in Washington, D.C., was among the first FBI officials to be made aware of his allegations that George Papadopoulos, a 2016 campaign advisor, said that he had political dirt on Hillary Clinton. Okay, this guy initiated the whole thing. This information led to the FBI launching Crossfire Hurricane, you remember about. That would examine whether Trump officials had been coordinating either willingly or wittingly or unwittingly with Russia. In September 2020, FBI Deputy Director Jonathan Moffa said during a Senate Judiciary Committee question that he received an email July 2016 from this guy we're about to talk about, McGonigal. Okay, so in the Senate, FBI Director Moffa, Assistant Director, says that, yes, I got essentially that reporting that served as the basis for opening the case from McGonigal. All right. So the entire investigation, right, a big part of it was started by McGonigal into Donald Trump. In 2017, the FBI's work was taken over by Robert Mueller. In 2019, the Mueller report determined there was no evidence that Trump worked with Russia to interfere with the election, but they had some obstruction conversations about that. Papadopoulos was jailed for 10 days. Deripaska was also a client of Paul Manafort. Trump said on Truth, the FBI guy after me for the Russia hoax long before my election as president was just arrested from taking money from Russia. May he rot in hell, right? He's been charged with various different counts, one count conspiring to violate and evade U.S. sanctions and so on. We're going to go through that in detail in a minute. But first, let's hear from Matt Gaetz. Now that we have that background under our belt, Matt Gaetz is very excited about this indictment because he says it connects all the dots. Let's listen.
What will the American people likely learn in these hearings?
Well, there's two critical vectors that we're investigating on the Judiciary Committee. First, the extent to which our national security apparatus is corrupted by politics here at home. That's where the whistleblowers have talked about really degrading evidence that would otherwise implicate the Biden family. But this story that is breaking now, that is huge, shows us that there is also a real coercion with foreign cash that comes in and has an impact on our FBI. What we now know is that the head of counterintelligence at the New York field office was turned by the Russians, and this is the very person who helped do the intake on the initial Russia hoax. So now we have to determine when that person was turned. There could be real dangers here to national security. That's why Mr. Jordan and I want to know if there are legislative proposals or oversight endeavors we have to engage in to figure out how deep this rot goes.
Wild. So that is over from the Washington Examiner. Matt Gaetz says that they are coming in hot on this investigation because it's going to unveil a whole bunch of nefariousness that we have long speculated exists at the FBI. Now, I came across this fun clip. This is how I think the FBI thinks of themselves. I don't know where this came from. I found this on Twitter, but this is a scene from some TV show with all these FBI agents, and watch how they think of themselves. It's hilarious.
That was close.
Yeah. Yeah, that was close. Yeah, baby.
You okay?
You okay?
Yeah.
Look at this very diverse group of FBI agents. Look at this. They think that they're all like ultra sophisticated, really good, healthy, fit, good looking people, very diverse culturally, equitable, all of this. You okay?
That was close.
That was close.
Well done.
What did they do? They probably just got done reporting an illegal tweet. Look at her face. She probably saw a bad election joke. Like they were joking about voting on a Wednesday or something. Fortunately, he was there to comfort her. All right, that's what the FBI thinks they're doing all the time. That's not actually what they're doing. They're engaged in all sorts of very bad things in this country, including being indicted for fraudulent schemes. Let's take a look at this charge and dive into what the FBI is actually doing. The arrest warrant came out for ex-FBI agent, very senior person, named Charles F. McGonigal. Coming out of the District of Columbia, Judge Colleen Kolar-Cotelli looking at an indictment here. This document is the arrest warrant authorized by the judge back on January 18th, 2023. Looks like they were at the JFK Airport, New York, New York. He was arrested at the airport, at the JFK International Airport. Ooh. Warrant received and the person was arrested when he landed. Bummer for him. Now, here you see the several different charges in the arrest warrant. We've got concealment of material facts, false statement, falsification of documents. The indictment is a document we're going to look at next, starting now. You see 18-page indictment, United States of America versus Charles McGonigal, 16 pages. Out of the District of Columbia for 3 different criminal violations. This is the ex-FBI agent, very senior person. Here is what the Justice Department says this ex-FBI agent did. They write, the U.S. Justice Department was a department within the executive branch. FBI was the principal investigative arm of the DOJ. The defendant in this case, Charles McGonigal, was a special agent in charge of the FBI's New York field office from October 2016. Did something important happen in November 2016? Until his retirement from the FBI in September 14, 2018. All right, so he was in charge of the FBI all the way during Trump's initial 2 years, essentially. And during that time, he was a member of the Senior Executive Service, okay, the SES. He's very senior. He's not just some lowly FBI grunt. Defendant McGonigal was responsible for overseeing counterintelligence and national security members as a special agent in charge, including those involving European countries like Albania and Bosnia, and Herzegovina, which is a country I never even heard of. Apologies to all of our Herzegovina viewers out there for mispronouncing your country's name. I apologize. They write, as a special agent in charge of the FBI's New York office and a member of the executive team, McGonigal had a legal duty to file an annual disclosure report. Those disclosures were made by the Government of Ethics reports, and they're supposed to do it accurately and regularly. They have to disclose assets over a certain amount, and it needs to go electronically into Washington. So this is them saying he has to do all this stuff. Defendant McGonigal had a duty and was required by FBI to accurately report any unofficial foreign travel, like to Russia, and any ongoing professional or official contacts with foreign nationals. And he was also required to report foreign travel to the FBI. The official and unofficial travel disclosures were required to be made pursuant to the law. Information has to go on various forms. They say that as the holder of a national security clearance, as a holder, McGonigal was required to report to the FBI accurate and complete information about his contacts. They tell us about another person, person A, naturalized United States citizen, born in Albania, lived in New Jersey. He was an employee of an Albanian intelligence agency several decades earlier, playing the long con game here. Company A was a Delaware business. Was it Hunter's business? Organized, registered by Person A in January 2018. Person B was an Albanian national who was employed by a Chinese energy conglomerate. Person B also operated as an informal advisor to the Prime Minister of Albania, retaining an official Albanian government email account and a passport, and was a former Albanian senior government official. Person A and Person B were friends and business associates with each other. Person C, a national of Bosnia and Herzegovina and an advisor to the Bosnian member of the presidency. Person C, a former Bosnian defense minister. Right? All these government people in this indictment. Says that Person D was a national of Bosnia and also the general manager and founder of a pharmaceutical company. Okay. Nice background, a lot of letters. Let's see what we can tease out. They say that beginning no later than August 2017 and continuing thereafter, at least until 2019, in DC and elsewhere, Charles McGonigal, ex-FBI senior agent in charge of New York, knowingly and willfully covered up by scheme various aspects of his relationship with Person A. He had a duty to disclose that he had a conflict of interest between his official FBI duties and his private interest. He accepted more than $225,000 and traveled with that person to Europe, established ongoing relationships with foreign nationals, and got introduced to a bunch of different associates. Why did they do this, though? Why was this very upstanding and very, very honorable FBI agent engaged in this scheme? Well, the purpose of the scheme was for McGonigal to conceal from the FBI and the public material information about his relationship with this person. $225,000 along with travel to Europe. Tried to hide his private financial interests. How did he do it? Well, he signed a form, the OGE 278 form, and on that form he lied. Falsely stated that he had no greater liabilities than $10,000. Unfortunately, he did. He had $225K dumped into some account somewhere. Between September 2017 and 2018, McGonigal submitted several other documents that were also lies. He was talking about when he requested and received money. He falsely reported the nature of the travel. He falsely reported the countries visited. He falsely characterized the purpose of the travel. He said he did not meet with foreign contacts, but he did. He also failed to disclose those contacts back to the FBI. They say that McGonigal, the ex-FBI agent, engaged in a private financial relationship with Person A, and it conflicted with his official duties. For instance, among other things, they say McGonigal caused the FBI of New York to open a criminal investigation of a U.S. citizen in which Person A would serve as the confidential human source, and defendant McGonigal attempted to arrange a meeting between Person C, D, and the U.S. government authorities that would benefit Person A financially, all while concealing from the defendant McGonigal's receipt of $225,000 from Person A. Wow. All right. So they make this very difficult to tease out because we've got A, B, C, D. We don't know who is whom. But the question is, this is an op, okay? This ex-FBI agent is being paid almost $250,000 to go in and run an op on some other person. He's probably holding himself out as an FBI agent. He's saying that, you know, we need to do this deal. And it's like you see in the movies, right? It's a big scam. And he's being brought into this scheme. They say in furtherance of this scheme, he had a duty to disclose this stuff. No later than 2017, he met and said, "Are you going to pay me?" He said, I'm flying on an unofficial trip to Albania. Didn't tell us who he's traveling with, Person A. Didn't tell us about the lodging, that it was going to be free. Didn't tell us he was going to Kosovo as well. Didn't say he had personal contacts with other people. Person A told this FBI agent that he's working on the money and he'll start paying it little by little. McGonigal traveled by air with Person A to Albania. Over the next several days, he met with foreign nationals. Nobody paid for McGonigal's lodging while there. They were talking while they were there about oil field drilling licenses, urging the Prime Minister of Albania to be careful, saying, don't award those to Albania. They had financial interests. They're talking about oil rights. Wow. In September 2017 in Albania, ex-FBI agent McGonigal was introduced by Person A to an Albanian business person and a politician who told defendant McGonigal that he wanted someone to investigate an alleged plot to kill the Albanian business person and politician. So he's like a private contractor now. He's going to do, independent research and help investigate stuff. He traveled by car from Albania to Kosovo. Following September, he maintained an outside relationship with the Prime Minister of Albania. He got $80,000 in cash from person A outside a restaurant in a parked car. That's your FBI, folks. Yeah, why don't you meet me outside that restaurant? In the trunk, there'll be the Hunter Biden documents. You just drop in the $80,000 in cash. Now, in the fall of 2017, at Person's A residence in New Jersey, McGonigal showed up twice. The second time he got $80,000 in cash. The third time he got $65,000 in cash. Then he submitted another form to the FBI. Didn't tell us about any of that. Didn't tell us he had a relationship with Albania. Didn't disclose Person A. Right, it's all forms. He didn't fill out the forms. Now, Person A came and attended one of these meetings as an interviewer. They traveled by air. They met with Person B over dinner and drinks. Again, it would be really interesting to know who these letters were. On November 25th, 2017, defendant ex-FBI agent informed the DOJ about a new potential criminal investigation involving a U.S. citizen who had registered to perform lobbying work in the U.S. on behalf of an Albanian political party. One day earlier, he had received information from Person B about the U.S. citizen lobbyist. He dined with Person A and other people from Albania. He forwarded new information to other FBI agents. Traveled for 3 days in February. And so he initiated an actual investigation into a U.S. citizen lobbyist. Person A was later identified by the FBI as a confidential human source. He had another dining meeting in Washington. He communicated with the FBI, $225,000. Here we go. On June 25th, 2018, defendant McGonigal, ex-FBI agent, proposed to Person A that Person A and Company A enter into a contract with Person D and Person D's pharmaceutical company. So he's arranging the deal. McGonigal's proposal included that Company A would be paid $500,000 and the pharmaceutical company would be done in exchange of scheduling meetings with the U.S. delegation to the UN, right? So they're just sort of moving money around to get deals done. Defendant McGonigal confirmed to Person A by electronic communication that he had resent the same proposed language, and they're asking now to protect McGonigal's name, right? So pay him under the table so nobody knows about it. They said that Company A would receive $500,000 in exchange for scheduling a meeting between the pharmaceutical company and someone from the UN, right? $500,000 to get a meeting. McGonigal provided the FBI liaison proposed dates. And man, so he just got paid to basically set up a meeting. And then when he did it, he improperly filled out the form. Count 2. Lying statements provided on forms to the government. Count 3. Knowingly, willingly made false statements, including travel. Count 4. Fraudulent statements and misrepresentations to the U.S. government. Count 5. Materially false and fictitious and fraudulent statements. Count 6. Same thing. Count 7. Same thing. Count 8. Same thing. Cover up. Count 9. Same thing. All right, boy. All signed here by a foreperson of the grand jury and approved by Matthew Graves from the U.S. Attorney's Office. So that is the first indictment out of the D.C. Circuit. Let's take a look at what the Southern District of New York has to see if they have anything else interesting that maybe is a little bit beyond forms. From the Southern District of New York, we see the second indictment against Charles McGonigal, the ex-FBI agent accused of colluding with the Russians. Here's what this indictment says. And remember, the SDNY, we've covered a lot of cases here. In fact, the GM case was out of this court and many others were. The U.S. attorney out of this court is named Damian Williams, young guy, and I think he's fairly aggressive, right? I think he's sort of trying to make a name for himself. So let's see what we have here. They write, Charles McGonigal, and Sergey violated sanctions imposed by the United States. McGonigal is a former senior official with the FBI. Sergey is a Russian diplomat. McGonigal and Sergey agreed to investigate a rival Russian oligarch in violation of sanctions. They knew that this plot was in violation of their rules. McGonigal received classified information that Deripaska would be added to a list of oligarchs. And after McGonigal left the FBI, he went and worked on behalf of him. He tried to get those sanctions lifted. So he became sort of an outside contractor, an independent ex-FBI contractor. They give us some more details. They tell us. Charles McGonigal, the defendant, served in the FBI from 1996 to 2018 before he went and worked for the Russians. During his FBI career, McGonigal worked as a Russian counterintelligence and organized crime matters, also on counterespionage and other areas. Beginning in 2016 until he retired in 2018, special agent in charge of New York, supervised and participated in investigations involving Russian oligarchs, including Deripaska. Amongst other things, in 2018, while acting as the special agent in charge, he received and reviewed then classified list of Russian oligarchs that would be considered for sanctions as a result of the conflict with Ukraine that started back in 2014 this time. Sergey was a defendant, also worked for the Soviet Union and the Russian Federation for some period of time. Oleg is a Russian national. There are some laws that say, that you can't engage with foreign entities that are problematic. This is one of the laws. President blocked all property interests with the Russians. National emergency was declared. President expanded the scope of the executive order. All of these rules and regulations are in place. President blocked this, blocked persons list. On or about 2018, Deripaska got added to the sanctions list. Then it gets bad. In or about 2018 now, while McGonigal was still serving as a special agent in charge, he's still at the FBI. The Russian introduced McGonigal via an email to an employee and an agent of Deripaska, another Russian oligarch. Agent 1 was formerly a diplomat with the Foreign Affairs, and he worked for Deripaska. He was the foreign agent representing Deripaska. In the summer or spring of 2018, Sergey and McGonigal were asking to help Agent 1 get an internship at the NYPD for Agent 1's daughter in the field of counterintelligence, terrorism, and liaisoning. McGonigal agreed to help and requested assistance from the NYPD, saying, "I have an interest in her father for a number of reasons. Can you help her daughter get a job?" McGonigal also informed the FBI supervisor who worked for McGonigal that he wanted to recruit Agent 1 as a Russian intelligence officer. Through these efforts, Agent 1's daughter received VIP treatment from the NYPD. An NYPD sergeant assigned to brief Agent 1's daughter subsequently reported the event to the NYPD and the FBI because, among other reasons, Agent 1's daughter claimed to have an unusually close relationship to, quote, an FBI agent who had given her access to confidential FBI files. And it was unusual for a college student to receive such special treatment from the NYPD and the FBI. Wow. So an NYPD sergeant busted an ex-FBI special agent in charge. Don't you love it? Shout out to the local police, and actually shout out to our very special Sergeant Bob, who is in our locals community. Sergeants, local cops, way smarter than the FBI agents. This ex-FBI agent is like, yeah, I'll just pawn this girl off on the NYPD. The NYPD busted this dude talking to this young girl, and she's like, oh, this dude has a real interest in me, showing me all these confidential files. Busted. Shout out to the NYPD sergeant. The 2019 law firm engagement then. Then McGonigal retired from the FBI, making a lot more money being a spy. Agent 1 sought to retain a law firm to work on having the sanctions lifted. During the negotiations, McGonigal traveled to meet with Deripaska at other locations in London and Vienna. In electronic communications that they probably have now, they did not refer to him by a surname, but they called him the individual and our friend from Vienna and the Vienna client. At the conclusion of negotiations, Deripaska personally signed an engagement letter with the law firm, said that they're going to try to get him removed from the sanctions list. Pursuant to the fee agreement, Deripaska was going to pay the law firm $175,000 per month. Woo, it's a nice little fee there. The law firm retained McGonigal as a consultant and an investigator. He wanted $25,000 for that work. Now, I'll be honest, like, this is not that unusual. Like, all of these are crimes, right? But there are situations where ex-officers become criminal expert witnesses, right? Criminal defense expert witnesses. They do consulting work. So like you'll have a crime lab technician, somebody who does the testing, the analytical work for DUI analysis. They'll leave the crime labs and they'll go become criminal defense consultants. We work with many of them. So that in and of itself is not necessarily illegal, but the fact that he was still working at the FBI and then violating all of these sanctions and doing all of these things when he was clearly conflicted is highly illegal. Their work was interrupted by the pandemic, amongst everything else. The defendant illegally worked for him. They say beginning in the spring of 2021, Agent 1 began negotiating to retain them to work for him directly. They've got emails. In the emails they're sending back and forth, you know whom, the big guy, the client, and all of these other phrases so that they don't have to admit they're working for this person. They exchange contracts, $51,000 here, $41,000 per month for business intelligence services. They had corporate email accounts. In order to conceal McGonigal's work for the New Jersey Corporation while he was still employed by the FBI, they created false names and false cell phone accounts. He had a burner phone. They forged payments. They were doing all sorts of illegal things. They had different subcontractors involved. They had dark web files that could reveal hidden assets valued at more than $500 million. McGonigal believed that this stuff would be valuable. He wanted McGonigal wanted Deripaska to purchase the dark web files on the dark web. So they continue to lie. Here are the different allegations. 1, conspiracy to violate the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. So violating sanctions. Count 2. Also sanctions, Economic Powers Act. Count 3, money laundering. Conspired to misrepresent the true nature of the transactions. Count 4, money laundering as well. Concealed property, transferred them. False statements. Lied to the FBI. False representation in direct forms to the FBI. They say he should forfeit all of the money. All signed by, there it is, Damian Williams, U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York. Indictment was sealed before it was released. And so this FBI agent is in for some serious charges, and we'll see what happens there. I'm sure he's going to hire some very good lawyers, and we'll continue to see what the case has for us as we see more discovery and more facts are revealed. But that's the FBI, right? That's a senior FBI agent who was responsible for investigating Trump for Trump-Russia collusion. Never existed. He was colluding with the Russians. Do you think this is an aberration in the FBI? I don't. We'll continue to cover it. I hope you join us as we do. Thank you for liking this video wherever it is you're watching it, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the next one.